What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Classic Octane. I am Taylor. So this week we are back on the 64 F100 shop truck, and I'm going to be putting an engine and transmission in this thing. You probably already saw from the title or the thumbnail that it's not necessarily an engine you guys would think is going to go in here, but there's a twist, so stick with me. So I want to take a quick second and explain kind of where we are in the process of this build. If this is your first video on this truck, I encourage you to go back and watch the intro video. I'll throw a card up for it now. That's going to go over the current condition of the truck, what our long-term goals are, all of that kind of stuff. This is just the next step in that process. So what I need to do is I need to get this thing ready for a sheriff's VIN inspection, is what it's called. In the state of Texas, we are required to have titles for any vehicle that we plan on driving on the street. That includes old motorcycles, 60-year-old trucks. It doesn't matter, we have to have a title. I did not receive a title when I bought this truck because it's been off the road for so long. It's exchanged hands so many times. That original title is long gone, unfortunately. But fortunately for us, Texas does have a process in place called a bonded title. Let me walk you through really quick of what a bonded title is. A bonded title is basically no different than a standard title, with the exception of it has a bond attached to it. So say Texas goes and puts a $4,000 value on this truck. I have to go out and get a surety bond for $6,000. It's not crazy expensive. I think it's probably like 100, 150 bucks, something like that. It's basically an insurance policy is another way to look at it. And if anybody reports this truck stolen within the next 3 years, they get that $6,000. Otherwise, I get a title that I can register, get license plates, drive the truck on the street. I can sell it, transfer that bonded title to somebody else. Everything else with the truck is exactly like if I just had a regular title. After that 3-year process, as long as everything's checks out, nobody reported it stolen, I am then issued, or whoever currently is in possession of the title, is issued a clean standard title for the truck. So it's just kind of a multitude of hoops you have to jump through if you buy a vehicle that has a lost title. The only issue with this, and is why we are doing everything we are doing in this video, is I need to get a VIN inspection from the sheriff's office, and they want the vehicle to be complete. So they want it to be body, frame, axles, engine, and transmission. This truck does not currently have an engine or transmission in it, so that's what we have to do. The main thing the sheriff's office is going to be looking at is the VIN plate. On this truck, it's on the driver's door, and the stamping on the frame. That's the two main places they're going to check. They're going to want to know that those VIN numbers match. They also are the correct VIN numbers for a 1964 F100, and that they're not reported stolen. The engine and transmission and axles, that is kind of like a last-ditch effort for if you have no VIN plates on the body at all, your frame has no stampings whatsoever, they might try to go to an engine number or something like that to determine what the original VIN of the vehicle was. For me, that, fingers crossed, isn't going to matter because I have clean stampings on both the door and on the frame. So I just need to put an engine and transmission in this thing. And the only engine and transmission I currently have is a small block Chevy and a turbo 350 that were originally in my 69 Camaro. So that's what we're going to put in there, and we're going to see how it goes. Get this thing pulled out. And before all you keyboard warriors start going crazy, no, this engine and transmission are not going to live in this truck for very long. We don't need to get this thing running. We just need to have them in place. So before you start typing angry comments at me, no, we're not going to be putting a Chevy engine in the Ford truck. It's going to remain a Ford, I promise. Since it's not going to run, I'm not going to bother putting a flex plate or anything else. I mean, we're not starting this thing. Let's just put that down on the ground. See if this is gonna line up for us. Yeah, just like that. These are the mounts we're going to use. So I was going to make these, and I looked on Amazon and I found these for like, I swear it was like $28 or something for a pair. Definitely worth my time just to do that. So these will bolt right up to the block in place of those factory Camaro mounts. We'll run the third bolt, of course, and then it came with these brackets as well. So the idea is these will go on each side of that bushing, match up, fingers crossed, with our frame rail. I'll grind off a little bit of the frame rail, run like an inch and a half weld on each side. All we need to do is for it to hold for a trailer ride, basically. And then for the transmission mount, I'll have to see what it looks like when we get the kind of set up in place, but I'm hoping I can just run like a square tube inside frame rail right under the transmission mount. Booger weld it in and kind of be good to go. Again, this is never going to run in this truck. It just needs to not fall out on the way to the sheriff's office. I'm gonna start off by getting a measurement inside frame rail to inside frame rail. Maybe, kind of hard to reach, 34. So let's go measure the small block Chevy and see how wide that thing is. So obviously this is a little bit tricky, so I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it. That mount would be about there. This is not going to be wide enough. I mean, we're looking at like 29 or 30. Let me see if we boxed that frame, if that would get us any closer. Small change of plans. I found these heavy duty 90-degree brackets from who knows what in my scrap pile. And what I want to do now is I'm going to weld these just like this. So that'll be all nice and tight, good to go. And then this will sit on the bottom lip of the frame. That way, all of the weight of the entire engine is sitting on the inside frame rail, and the weld we're going to put on the side of this is more so to keep it in place as opposed to the weld needing to, hold all of the weight. Knock on wood, it seems pretty straightforward to remove the front clip on these. There's a couple of bolts in the back side of the fenders. All of this is going to stay bolted together, the core support, all that kind of stuff. Same story on this side. The only thing I don't know is how bad these bolts are going to be to remove. It's a 60-year-old truck that has probably not been apart, maybe ever, so they're going to be pretty stuck. I have been soaking everything down with rust penetrant over the last couple of days in anticipation for having to do this. Before I get to the main removal, I'm going to go through and just remove a bunch of this stuff that's in the way. AC components, the battery tray, the stuff I know I'm not going to use or I'm not going to need right now, just so we have a kind of clean working area. Then we'll get to removing the big stuff. I have my plan figured out, so let me walk you through it. So I have my bracket. I ended up cutting about 3/4 of an inch off of this side. If you look inside the frame rail, you see that hole right there? That used to be the bump stop. So I removed that. That gives us a nice hole to make this bolt in. So I'm actually gonna just bolt this bracket right there. We will then weld these two pieces to the side of this, and then that will be a full bolt in and out piece because I don't really want to permanently modify this frame, especially not for an engine that's not going to stay in this project. So I'm going to go ahead and modify my other 90-degree bracket. We'll pull the welder out and we'll get this thing ready to tack in place. We are ready to burn this thing in. I have my MP200i Eastwood. This is a MIG, TIG, stick, every kind of process you could want welder. It's been incredible for me so far. We're just gonna MIG today. I actually do have a partnership with Eastwood. I'll throw a, I think I have a promo code or something like that. I'll throw it on the screen now. You can get a discount on Eastwood products from their website. Also throw a link in the description as well. Let's burn this thing in. Now this will be the real test. Let's go ahead, take the weight away from the crane and onto the mounts. Okay, I'm happy with that. Keep your toes clear. I mean, that's exactly what we needed. For the transmission cross member, I have a bunch of this 2x2 square tubing. I'm just gonna go under there, measure in between the two frame rails, cut this to length. This will sit in the C of the frame, and the transmission will just sit right on top of it. I'll see how that looks. I will most likely end up drilling holes through this and just running a bolt through this into the transmission just to make sure that this thing doesn't fall out on the way to the inspection. And that should do it. We got it all mounted up just in time. It looks like we might actually get our first amount of rain in like 6 weeks here, which is exciting. A little bit inconvenient for what I'm doing, but you can kind of see how the mounts ended up working out. Welds aren't the prettiest, but I wasn't going for that. We were just going for structural. Probably see the square tube in the back. That's the trans cross member. It's literally just a 33-inch long square tube, slid underneath the back of the trans, a bolt run through it. That's it. So the next day I'm gonna work on this is probably Monday, which is gonna be like 10 seconds from now for you. And we're gonna work on putting the front clip back on. I got the front end of the truck put back on. This is about as far as I'm gonna take it for now. I need to reach out to the sheriff's office and get my VIN inspection scheduled. As soon as that's done, I feel confident about ordering the rest of the parts and really starting to dig into this thing, but I don't wanna go that far unless I know that VIN inspection is gonna go well. So that's gonna be it for this video, guys. If you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Good news and bad news. Good news, we're scheduled for our VIN inspection. Bad news, it's the first week of December, so it's like 7-ish weeks from now. Bit of an unfortunate delay in the project, but we'll still be moving forward, so there'll be a bit of a lull in truck content, but we'll jump back onto some motorcycles, maybe something on the Camaro. I don't know, plenty of stuff to work on around here, so I'll see you then.